Hello everyone, my name is USS History, and today we are going to be talking about the ill-fated RMS Titanic. Now, before we continue, for those who have an IQ higher than 5-year-olds, the Titanic is an ocean liner that sank between the dates of April 14th and 15th, 1912 as a result of an iceberg. This video will go a little deeper into why they designed it, how long it was, how wide it was, and what vessels were built alongside the Titanic. So, let's begin. Now, the year 1907. White Star Line is in a huge hiatus and absolutely going wild as the Cunard Line, yes, the Cunard Line, built 3 boats. 3 big boats, too. The Mauretania, Aquitania, and Lusitania. Now, these 3 vessels were around 700 feet long and were thin. They were very fast, however, and that's why they were famous. They were just fast boys. Now, White Star Line needs their new big vessels and fast. Now, why do they need these big vessels? For big monies, of course, so they get to designing. They send the designs to Harland and Wolff, and they're so freaking big they had to literally reshape part of the freaking shipyard because it was that big. The boats were that big that they had to actually build new piers to build them in. But these ships were named the Olympic, Britannic, and Titanic. Now, the Olympic was the first one, built between the dates of December 1908 and October 1910, before entering service in 1911, having various incidents throughout its lifetime before being scrapped in the late 1930s. Titanic, built between 1909 and 1911, being fully completed in terms of interior construction in 1912 before sinking as a result of the iceberg that sunk it. And Britannic, we'll worry about the Britannic later. Now, these vessels were around 882 feet long and 92 feet wide. They were pretty big for the era, but in modern day standards, they look like Tic Tacs. However, these things were huge. So huge they couldn't even fit in Cherbourg. They were that big. However, luckily, White Star Line thought of something. Built 2 tiny boats related to the Olympic class. Yes, these little tiny tenders were actually tin-seared siblings, and send them to Cherbourg to just work for White Star Line vessels, specifically the Olympic, Britannic, and Titanic, if they entered service. So, they did their exact duties. They served the Titanic and Olympic. They didn't serve the Britannic since she only entered war, so sadly. However, they saw Olympic way more often considering she actually survived her various encounters. Titanic, on the other hand, only got to get these tenders used by them once. However, they also just worked for White Star Line ships in general, serving just for them. Now, let's just cut to the chase. It's April 10th, 1912. A cloudy day in Britain, as usual. Probably gonna rain again. But it's a nice day. Nice enough to launch a boat on its first maiden voyage, which was delayed by a month because Olympic crashed into a battleship. The battleship crashed into Olympic. Yeah, and left a huge gash. No one was injured, no machinery was damaged. They had to fix the big hole in the hull, which delayed Titanic's departure by a month. Yeah, she was meant to launch in March, but nope, April instead. However, this was basically a death sentence, as little did they know. A goofy iceberg conveniently slid into an ice field in the middle of the Atlantic, which sank the Titanic. Over the course of the next 4 days, Titanic went to Cherbourg, Queensland, and then began her transatlantic journey all the way to the United States of America. Now, it's April 14th, 1912, 11:40 p.m. People are sound asleep, playing cards, or just watching the night view. It's a moonless night. Only the lights on the Titanic are brightening the ship and its surrounding area, and even then they can barely see anything. As a result, the crow's nest crew noticed the iceberg way too late. They call them, and basically, this sound goes down. Hello? Iceberg! Right ahead! Oh no. Iceberg right ahead! Hard starboard! Starboard! Basically, poop hit the fan, and it hit hard, as the ship rapidly turned on its port side to make sure it could even have a chance of avoiding the iceberg. However, it was already too late. They had noticed it too late. Too little, too late, and they strike the iceberg, leaving multiple guests in the hull, flooding the various compartments which contained cargo, and one of them being the coal bunker of a boiler room number 6, the first boiler room on board the Titanic. This sealed the ship's fate, as 6 compartments were flooding. The Titanic could only handle 4 being flooded. So now, the ship only has hours left, and she sinks slowly for a while, giving the Titanic enough time to lower all 20 of her lifeboats except for the last 2, which had to be pushed off the deck. They attempted to lower collapsible A, but it was too late, as the ship got level in terms of list during the final plunge. At 2:18 a.m., the lights break, sending the ship onto a no power kind of issue. And then, it happens. The ship splits in 2, resulting in a pulverized superstructure, the front of the bow plunging beneath the waves, and the third funnel collapsing forward, before sending the superstructure and subsequent hull areas with it. The pulverized deck area would later become debris in between the bow and stern, and by 2:20 a.m., she's beneath the waves. 1,500 people in total passed away during this accident, from hypothermia or flat-out drowning underwater. The Carpathia arrives a few hours after Titanic sadly sinks, saving only 705 lives. However, this did not go without any action. A lot of people got mad that the ship sank, especially considering it was quote-unquote unsinkable. Now, what did they do to rectify this? They put new laws in place that basically adhered to the modern standards of big back boats. And now, as of today, ships are a lot more safe than they were when Titanic sank. However, this didn't leave incidents related to Titanic afterwards, including the sad Titan sub implosion in 2023. But that's about all I'm going to talk about here. I hope you all actually like this video, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye bye.